teachers, parents, school representatives, and fellow student leaders. Welcome to our 10th Student Leadership Lecture Series and Investiture. My name is Maxine.
And I'm Marish.
We are pleased to be your MCs for this evening. The theme for tonight is leading in the community. Narish, let me share two quotes with you. Ronald Reagan, 40th President of the United States, once said, "The greatest leader is not necessarily the one who does the greatest things. He is the one that gets the people to do the greatest things." President Gordon B. Hinckley said, "You are good, but it is not enough just to be good. You must be good for something. You must contribute good to the world. The world must be a better place because of your presence, and the good that is in you must be spread to others." What do you gather from the quotes?
From the two quotes, I think that a leader does not exist alone, but is nested amongst people who he or she can make a difference. Leaders exist only if they are followers, and follow him or her for a good cause.
I agree with you, Naresh. A leader is also part of a community, and what the leader can do must positively impact the community. This evening, we have the privilege to hear from Mr. Martin Tan, his perspective on leadership, and also interact with him.
To start this evening's program, we would like to invite Mrs. Lin, our principal, to give us a welcome address. Mrs. Lin, please.
A very good evening to one and all, and welcome to YCKSS Secondary School. Welcome to the 10th Leadership Series and Student Council Investiture. It's my first time leading school, and I would like to share with you my very first experience of student leadership in this school with you. On 10th of January at 7 a.m., I had a group of Sec 3 students who came knocking at my office and said, can we have a word with you? So they made an effort to come very early that morning. And knowing that our school, for the first time, we are hosting the Pathlight students, right? This year, we are hosting the Sec 3 cohort of the Pathlight students. They actually drafted, this group of students actually drafted a proposal. And this proposal is what they could do to build relationships with this group of Sec 3 Pathlight students. So I was very heartened. You know, they spent time, they really spent time drafting the proposal. But as usual, I will ask them questions. This is my job, right? Answer questions, clarify their thoughts, etc. And they said, okay, we need time to think through. Then I said, okay. So I've given them some time to think through. Okay, and in the meantime, we actually had a word with Ms. Sin Yan-Chui, who is actually the coordinator for these two schools, the Pathlight Satellite Partnership, as well as Ms. Linda, who is actually the principal of Pathlight School. So the principal was very encouraged that something of this nature came out of their own initiative from our students. So she says, tell me who they are and what they want to do. Sure, we will talk it out. Okay, so I'm still waiting for them to come to me because, as you know, the realities of life, the common test 1, common test 2, so we give them time to think through. But as I reflect on this first encounter of student leadership in this school, they taught me some things which I would like to share with you. And it is the acronym of OCT, October, the 10th month, we're celebrating our 10th anniversary, right? So October. Okay, every time October comes, you can remember this, huh? O for opportunities, C for courage, and T, time to reflect. Yeah, I think I was very happy that these students actually scan the environment, source out and seize opportunities that are in their midst to make a difference to the school community. Right? Secondly, C for courage. They have the courage to pave the way when there's actually no path there at all. They have the courage to want to knock on this door and come and speak to me. And I'm actually heartened because they're not the first knock. There were many more after that. And they knew that as a leader, they needed time they needed time to think through, and it's a journey that they will take. My point is very simple. Leadership is not something airy-fairy. Leadership is something you and I can do, and it exists in our Yutukan community. So as we learn from our guests of honor tonight, as we affirm the contributions of our existing leaders, and as we welcome the new batch of leaders, I would like to wish you a wonderful evening, a meaningful time, and happy learning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lim.
Next, we would like to invite Mr. Martin Tan, co-founder of Halogen Foundation Singapore, to share his thoughts and beliefs. Mr. Tan, please.
Just say hello. With your permission, can I be not so formal? Must I stand here? Is it okay? Can I be not so formal? Is that alright? Coffee. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. It's a great delight to be here today. To be perfectly honest, I love coming to things like this. I really love it. Because as the years go by, I realize I'm getting older, but the students I speak to remain the same age. That's not how your teachers feel. Every year, new batch of students come in. You're always 13 years old, always 14, always 15. Your teachers grow older. So always be nice to them, okay? Same thing with your parents. Now, let me start by saying this. That when we talk about leadership, and many of you are student leaders here, you are getting your awards, some of you are retiring. I was talking to Saba on the way out, the way out. It's a wonderful privilege, don't you think? That's the best way I can think about it. It's a wonderful, wonderful privilege. So I'm going to see if this works. Oops. I'm not supposed to press this, am I? There we go. So when we talk about leading the community, I thought I wanted to talk a little bit very quickly about what is it of leaders. Oops. Ignore the text. What is it about leadership? What is leadership at the end of the day for you? And parents, if you don't mind me addressing them a little bit, just in case if you see me ignoring you, I am not. I'm just going to focus on that. Is that okay? And then I'm going to tell you. What is leadership at the end of the day? Is it a position? Is it a title? Is it something that we do? There are many, many different aspects of leadership. At the end of the day, it comes to the essence of who we are, why we do what we do, and for whom do we do it for. And I'm going to cover that. How do we first and foremost define leadership? Is we define leadership by purely one word, and the word is influence. How many of you think that you have influence over someone else? Come on, think about it. How many of you think that you have influence over someone else? Okay, not many hands at this moment. Parents, do you think you have influence over your children? Do your children still listen to you? If your parents are nodding, okay, very good. I have two daughters. Megan is 8 and Meredith is 6. I know I still look 18, but I'm a little bit older now. And they are coming to that age where they are deciding for themselves what they want to do. Right? And I look at the parents now because you exactly understand what I mean. There was a point in their lives that every time I wanted to go out, guess what my children will do? I want to go. They are 6 and 8. Just last week, I wanted to go and collect my car because of the workshop. And Megan has piano class, so she goes on her own. I wanted Meredith to come with me. She's 6, right? So we planned for it. Meredith, why don't you come? And then you and Lily can go out and take bus, go and get the car, and so on. You know what she said to me? Can I stay at home and watch TV? She's only 6. We all have the ability to influence people. We all do. The question is, what do we do with the influence? No matter how old you are, we have influence. I remember when Megan was when Melody was about 4 years old, this was 2 years ago, they do gym class. You know gymnastic class? Do you do gymnastics in school these days? Not really? Okay. So she goes for this gymnastics class where they go and tumble, they go and jump, right? You know what they learn in gymnastics class on a Saturday? They will go and they will stand on this like a platform, right? Like a platform. And then they'll be learning this, okay, you'll count 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and what do? They jump. And they're supposed to land on both their feet. Okay? And then what do? They stand up and they do, ta-da! That's what they learn in gym class. Alright? Every week they will do different roles, it's just an exercise and so on. She was 4 years old. Megan does the same thing, Megan was 6 years old. So one day, on a Sunday, I was at home, I was reading my newspapers, and I could hear them in the living room doing this activity. You know what they do? They will climb on the sofa. Alright? They'll climb on the sofa, Megan will climb on the sofa and say, Megan, look at this. Bend your legs, count 1, 2, 3, and then she won't jump. And guess what happens? She lands on both her feet, and what does she do? Ta-da! And then the 4-year-old sister, eyes wide, wow, my hero, clever, you're so clever. What happens is, now you have to understand in gymnastics class it's all rubber floor. But young people and children don't understand the difference between rubber floor and marble floor. Huge difference, right? Huge difference. Meredith, all of 4 years old, you know what does she do? She climbs on the sofa, check, look. She bends her leg. 1, 2. What comes after 2? Or 3. 1, 2, and she jumps. Does she land on both her legs? She landed on her face. Was there? Okay. I was reading my newspaper and I ran. Now, one of the things about parenting and parents, this is just something that me and my wife decided early on when we have children, right? Is that we will never rush into a situation. That means we must maintain cool so that we don't overreact to a situation, right? So that's sort of our parenting style we decided upon. But can I say it's very difficult? When you see your kid fall, painful, right? When you think, right? Very, very painful. So, but we agree, they cannot like malu, you know. So I'll go over there and I'm hide, anxiety. What happened? Actually inside, okay. Right, so we didn't want to overreact. Then the explain, oh, we did that. I will turn to Megan. And I said to Megan, you are the big Cheche. Whatever you do, your baby will follow. What is that called? Influence. And influence is, she's 6 years old. And I told her, Megan, you are the big Cheche. Whatever you do, your sister will follow. Do you understand? So don't do silly things like this. Do you understand? Now Megan has very big eyes, right? If you watch Shrek, she's like Puss in Boots. You know the eyes are very big. Anything, everybody, oh, so cute, right? So she has these big eyes and she understands, okay, sister was okay, that's fine. Then later on, guess what happened? You know Megan said, wait, let's don't do it. Let's go to Daddy's room, let's climb on the bed, higher, we jump. Even at that age, they have influence. How about you? When we talk about leadership, we are talking at the end of the day, not whether you have a title or not, whether you are the head prefect, you have a monitor, CCA leader. You know what? All those are great. Those are positions. Leadership is not about people in positions of power, but people in positions of influence. Let me repeat that again. Leadership is not about people in positions of power, but people in positions of, come on, people in positions of. So the question is, the question is not, are you a leader or not? That's not the question. The question is, are you a positive influence or a negative influence? You know why? Because gang leaders are also, come on, gang leaders are also, but are gang leaders positive influence or negative influence? We have the ability to choose whether we are positive or negative. Your theme for today and for the year is leading in the community. The question that I have for you is, why do you want to lead in the first place? Why is it that we want to become leaders? Can I say one of the things that we were talking to your principal, I was talking to the principal earlier before this. We saw a reversal in the role. She has been promoted and now she's the principal, and she has no more boss. She used to be the vice principal, now she's a principal. She is the king, the queen, the supreme leader, or him. I used to be my own boss for the last 10 years in college, and I founded the organization. I stepped down recently as the executive director. Now I work with Singapore Management University. I have a boss. So it's completely different in the reversal of the role. But you know what? Whenever we look at our role, it doesn't mean that just because I am no longer the CEO, I stop being a leader. Does it make sense? It does not mean that I'm no longer the CEO, I stop being a leader. Why? Because leadership is. Come on, leadership is. I ask myself, therefore, why do I do what I do? Why do I spend a Friday night here? Why would I spend a weekend with young people? Because I see leadership as a privilege to serve, a privilege to make another person's life better, a privilege to be able to change things for the better. That in itself is a privilege. It's a privilege I don't take for granted, and I hope you don't too. So why do you do what you do? Why are you a leader? That's my first question for you. My second question for you is how. Not just to write a blog about how, but how can we become good leaders? There are many things that you can do to become leaders. You can attend great leadership programs that's run by Halogen Foundation, some of the best in the world. That's for selling for you. But let me go to just one thing. Just one, is it okay? Just one. The best way a leader can lead others is serving the need of others. Let me repeat that again. The best thing a leader can do when he or she is leading is serving the needs of others. Every single time I take over an organization, I become the chairman of a committee, or I sit on the board of an organization, I always ask the staff one very simple question. What can I do to solve your problem? That's what we do as leaders. It's not to sit on a chair and tell people what to do. That is the easy part. The hardest part is to sit down with people and say, what can I do to serve your need? And for those of you who are entering into a leadership position, can I say that's probably the best thing you can do as a leader? Apart from all the things you can do and all the how, there's one thing I would like you to remember. Is that a leader's role is to serve the needs of the people you lead. Talk to them. Ask them, what can I do as a leader to make it easier for you so that we achieve the goals of the school, of the community that you're in? Last but not least is the question, for whom? Leadership is not just about us. Leadership is about others. Can you imagine if a principal comes to the school, not this school, let's say another school, a principal comes in and says, everyone, students, I want you to study very, very hard. This year, we want to be the best secondary school in Pasir Ris, for example. Actually, I want to be the best secondary school in the whole of Singapore. So I want you to study day and night, weekend, we do homework, remedial, so that we can become the best secondary school in Singapore, so that I get promoted. Would you follow a leader like that? Would you? Probably not. But if a leader thinks about the people they are leading, for whom do we exercise leadership for? When we make decisions as leaders, is it going to help someone else, or is it just going to benefit me? Those are the questions we need to ask ourselves as leaders. Why am I leading? How am I leading? And for whom am I leading? Let me leave with this, and I know we've got Q&A, and typically run over time, so I'm trying to end on time. One more minute. Can I leave this framework with you? It's called the 3QP or the 3-question process. Many things in our lives, when we think about serving the needs of others, we ask ourselves this 3 questions. Number 1, what are my greatest strengths? And parents, as we work with our children, this is a great way of looking at the children and asking them the same question. What are they best in the world at? I studied film. I'm a film student for 3 years in my life. I love film, I love photography. I think I'm good at it. But you know what? I wasn't the best in the world at it. People always ask me, hey, you always get A's and distinction for your film, why don't you go into film? I always have this answer, because I wasn't the best at what I did. But you know what I'm really, really good at? I'm really good at eating, sleeping, and talking. Since the first 2 take money from me, I try to use the third one to earn some money. What are you the best in the world at? We are all good at something. We need to discover what are your strengths. The second question you ask yourself, what is my greatest passion? All of us are excited about different things. Some of you are excited about one direction. Some of you are still excited about Justin Bieber. I can't understand that. But really, think about it. We all are passionate about something. You know what I'm passionate about? I am passionate about young people. I love being with young people, and that's why I do what I do. What are you the most passionate about? And last but not least, the last question is, what is the world's greatest needs? In your opinion, what is the world's greatest needs? And from there we ask ourselves, what is my greatest strength? What is my greatest passion? And what is the world's greatest needs? If I align these 3 questions together, I will find the right fit. And what is that for me? What is that for you? My challenge for you is that as you start on some, or some of you ending this journey, some of you starting this journey, can I say this to you? There is an exciting road ahead. Leadership doesn't end when you hand over your responsibility. I'm sorry I'm going to break it to you, some of it. It doesn't end by handing over. Why? Because we are leaders wherever we are. Because we have. Come on, because we have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tan. We will now move on to the question and answer session. Our guest of honor, Mr. Tan, has kindly agreed to take questions from the floor. Ms. Tiffany Ong will chair the session.
I should take it from here, so I take the guest of honor. I'll take a full shot. Huh?
Okay, we now begin our 10-minute Q&A session. Now, members of the audience, those of you who have questions pertaining to tonight's theme, leading in the community, or any other questions you have about leadership, there is a microphone somewhere. Where is she? It's with our student leader. So you may approach her and please state your name, where you are from, and then you can pose your question. Alright. So maybe as you start thinking about questions, maybe I'll give you a little bit of background about Mr. Tan. Besides being the co-founder of the Student Foundation, he also won the Outstanding Young Person Award in 2007. Right? And he also authored a book called Youth Sector Organization Starters in 2010. He also works very closely with community services to build the community. For example, he's the honorary secretary of the National Family Council and the deputy chairman of the Marriage Central Advisory Board. And also one thing very, very interesting is that he chairs the Shy Youth Festival, which is actually an annual event held every year in July, which celebrates the youth of Singapore. Alright. So, you talked about how leadership is influence. So maybe, why don't you share with us who was the greatest influence in your life?
That's a really difficult question because, as a leadership educator, you think about a lot of all these different people that are out there. I would probably say that when I was growing up, my father passed away when I was 17 years old. Some of you have been to events, if you Google and read about it. I tell my story very openly. When I was 17, my father passed away and of a heart attack in the Philippines. And so from 17 onwards, I never had a father role model. And for a young guy, it's actually quite hard. Let me say that it's not the easiest of things. It was my quote-unquote formative years. There were 4 gentlemen who were Christian leaders. They were pastors of churches and they lead national organizations. I don't think they take a pity on me, but because we have good chemistry, they decided to spend time with me. Back then, mentoring wasn't a big thing. So we really didn't say, oh, now you're my mentor. It doesn't work that way. But they decided to take an interest in me and spend a lot of time with me. They would scold me, they would advise me, and they would say, Marty, you should think about this, you should think about that. And they don't mince their words. And I would say that they were one of my biggest influences. And a lot of what I do today for young people is because of what they did for me. We have a saying in Halogen that we want to repay the debt we owe the previous generation by serving the next. We want to repay the debt we owe the previous generation by serving the next. So the reason why I do what I do is because a lot of times, because of these 4 individuals who have spent time with me, so they're probably the big influences in me. Parents can also ask questions. So I asked them.
Hi, very good afternoon. Good evening to you. My name is Colin Ken. I'm the director.
What's your name again?
Colin Ken.
Colin.
I'm the director of communications for my Student Council. And the question I would like to ask you is, how can we encourage soft-spoken students and shy students to become leaders?
How can we encourage what students and shy students?
Soft-spoken and shy
Soft-spoken.
students.
Okay. So the question is, how can we encourage soft-spoken students and shy students to become leaders?
Yes.
To lead shyly. Does that help? No. Okay. We have an interesting stereotype of what leaders are. So from your question, let me just jump and then I'll come back. From your question, it sounds to me like our definition of a leader is someone who can stand in front of people and talk. Someone who is outspoken, someone who is extroverted, someone who is like alive, so that's sort of my assumption of your question. But there are many leaders who are not like that. There are many leaders who are very quiet. There are many leaders who are very shy. They're called the Singapore Cabinet Ministers. Only the teachers laughing. So there are many leaders who are very shy. They go behind the background and they actually get things done. They don't do what I do, that means, talk to people at large, but they influence through the thinking that they do, the discussion they have in meetings, and helping other people become better leaders. That in itself is leadership. So my challenge is not fall into the trap that there's only one type of leaders. Okay? My challenge is to say, when you think of leaders, there are many different types of leaders. The only question is, are they influencing people, actions, and organizations? Are they leaving the places, the people better than when they were before? If they were doing that, being very shy and very soft-spoken, God help them, but if they can, and they will, that is great. So it doesn't have to be one type of leader. It must be outspoken, must be funny, must be this, must be that. What is important is that are they influencing people for the right reasons? Because if you are shy and you're soft-spoken, you can still lead people, you can still influence people. Some of the best leaders I know are soft-spoken. And I will follow them anytime because they are good at what they do. and they take an interest in me as a young person, and they will develop me as leadership. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Colleagues, parents, any questions?
Teachers can also ask questions.
Hello. I love film too. Right? Me and my friends, we make films. We used to make a lot of films, and most of the times, what happens on set is that people they get bored. They get filmmaking is a very time-consuming process. And how do
What
you
is time-consuming process? Sorry?
filmmaking?
Filmmaking, yes.
How do you keep them going when you're tired or bored?
This one, you change to
Like,
manual.
that
Now
happens
is
every time
auto, I
on
think.
set.
Okay, change to manual.
People or you play around. How do you keep them focused and keep them going after for long hours?
How do I keep my focus? Is that your question?
How do we keep the people under us focused?
Okay, how do we keep the people under us focused even though it gets tiring and so on? That's a great question.
You must off this to manual. Press this.
Can I
and
paraphrase
you
your
can
question
change.
and let me know if I got it right? Let me change the words and tell me if I get the essence, okay? What you are asking me is how do I keep my people that I lead stay motivated? Is that your question?
That's correct.
Okay, good. Motivation is a huge part of leadership. It's a huge part. Because there's a very famous saying that he who thinks that he is leading but has no one following him is only taking a walk. He who thinks that he is leading but has no one following him is only taking a walk. So a leader must have people they lead, right? But sometimes, some of the best leaders lead people through very difficult times. They're going to overcome big challenges. And it takes a lot of patience. And often or not, the reward doesn't come until 1 year later, 2 years later. It's just try and try. The goal is to motivate them. If you are a manager, or if you are a CEO or a boss, you can motivate them by money. Right? Don't you think? Okay? So they can get all they want, but because I pay them, therefore they will stay and do all this boring work. That's called one way of doing it. But leaders motivate people very differently. Leaders motivate people based on a compelling vision, or we call a shared vision. Because vision outlasts the person. So if you find that you need to motivate people to stay interested, often or not, we need to tell them that, you know what, we are going through all these difficult times, not just because it's fun to do, but because the vision is compelling enough. There are 3 bricklayers who are just laying bricks at a work site. And someone comes to the first bricklayer and say, you know what are you doing? Oh, I'm laying bricks. That's one way of seeing it. The second bricklayer laying bricks, someone comes and asks, what are you doing? The bricklayer says, oh, I'm building a wall. That's another perspective, don't you think? And then someone went and asked the third bricklayer, and then he danced off his feet, and he came up and said, you know what? I'm building a cathedral. It's all about being able to share a vision so compelling that people are willing to, you know what? It may be hard, it may be tiring, at times it may be boring, but because that's our goal and objective, I'm building a cathedral. It becomes an important aspect of leadership, which is motivation. Don't teach people how to sail a boat, because that's easy, or build a boat, because that's not that easy, but it still can be done. But teach them the longing of the sea, is how someone said. And when you long for the sea, you know what? You'll be able to overcome all these challenges. So motivate people by shared vision. Motivate people by your own passion for them. When you care for people, no matter how bored people are, and when they know you genuinely care, right? Not the fake kind of, hey, are you okay? Okay, all right. Not the fake kind, but the real kind of care. As a leader, you care for people, you know what? No matter how bored things are, they'll still remain motivated because of you. Okay?
Thank you.
We have one question. Yes, Cedric.
Hi, my name is Fazana. I'm from Level Vice President of Discipline. My question is, how to influence people that are difficult to be influenced?
How to influence people when they're difficult? Do you have anyone in mind? No, just kidding. How do you influence people when they're difficult to influence? That's a really good question. I'm not sure if I'm going to give you the best answer, okay? I'm going to try. You kick them out. No. Don't. I'll probably say part of it is trying to get alignment to a common vision as the first part. People are difficult for a variety of reasons. People are difficult because they don't agree with you. That's one. That means they don't agree with the vision. So it's an alignment problem. People are difficult because they don't like you. Right? That's another reason, right? Can I be honest? Is it okay? I think so. People don't like you. And thirdly, they are just difficult people. We all have friends like that, don't you think? It's called parents. No, it's not. So there are people like that, right? Even for us, for adults, we have very difficult friends to live with. We love them, but you know what? They are difficult. And sometimes they know they are. So if they are difficult because they don't agree with the vision, then I would say that our job as leaders is to bring alignment. I know it's a big word, but it's to have enough conversation with them about why they don't agree with what we are doing. Right? Because when you find that they agree with you and they see, oh, that's the reason why they're doing it this way, then they stop being difficult because they now understand where they're going. Alright, that's the first one. The second one is when they don't like you. Now this is a bit more tricky. Right? If they don't like your face, you can't do anything about it, right? You can't change your face. But chances are people don't like us not because of our face, people don't like us because of our personality, and because it clash. Then I can change, don't you think? Right? I can't change him or her, but I can change myself. So therefore what I will do as a leader is to sit down with that person and say, you know what, hey, I realize that we are having this difficult time, difficult moments. Is it because of me? If it is, please tell me honestly so that I can learn from my mistakes and I can change and I can become better. Now, it's easier said than done, you know why? Because we're all proud. Right? We will always think when someone is difficult, it's always their fault. But my challenge to you as leaders is sometimes it is not. Sometimes we are at fault, we just don't see it. So as long as we're humble enough as leaders to say, you know what, maybe it's me. Right? Have a chat with that person. And you know what, you will realize that there are some things that the person says may be very true. Therefore we change. And therefore things become better. Now the third one is probably the hardest, when they are just truly difficult people. Right? If we're aligned in vision, if we are good relationally, they're just difficult people, then I'll probably have a chat with that person and say, you know what, we need to work at this, not for my sake, but for your sake. Because if you keep on that way in life, you're going to be very difficult in the future. Right? Because if the group don't like you now, next time when you go out and work, it's going to be even worse, right? So why don't I help you and see what are the things that we can do to support you to become better people? Sometimes it's just a wrong fit. They just don't like what they do. And then during this conversation, you help them find something they're passionate about. So I'll probably say one of these three will be a good option. Which have one common denominator. What's the common denominator? It's about leaders spending time with people. You will only find out if you spend time with them. You can't do it, okay?
Alright, since we're running out of time, so we will just close. Maybe you can just give one piece of advice to our young leaders here on influence or leadership.
One piece of advice. I'm going to be superficial here, is it okay? But I think it's quite loaded. I think it's quite loaded. Enjoy the journey. Can I say that? Let's enjoy the journey. Don't enjoy the fame. Don't enjoy the authority. All these things won't last. If you enjoy the fame, can I say that? Very soon the fame will be gone. Don't enjoy the authority because very soon the authority will be gone as well. Right? But enjoy the journey. Because all you want in life is to look back and say, I have made a difference. That's all you want in life, nothing else. That I can look back with satisfaction that I have made a difference. That will stay with you forever. So don't love the things that are temporal. Love the things, the memories that you have the ability to stay through the course and enjoy the journey. Probably end with that.
Thank you so much. The time will still be around later on if you have any more questions, but we thank you once again for sharing your valuable experiences. Okay, so we have now come to the end of our Q&A session. Thank you very much. Mr. Tan, please remain on stage to present the certificate for the Outstanding Leader Award. The Outstanding Leader Award is presented to 74 and 5 student leaders who have contributed significantly to the quality of school life in their CCAs or classes and are role models to their peers. From Student Council, Sabashina. Han Go-young. 会师定。From netball, Ko Chai Fang. Sun Chin. And Sherini Paul. From NPCC, Chung Tzu Chun. Kun Jung Yong. Tang Kuan Yao. Kelvin Hua. And Jamie Sin. From NCDCC, Wu Yue Feng. And Lin Ke Long. From Red Cross, Selina Teo. Nurul Shahira. And Liao Su Chen. From Ben, Noreen. Lina. And Noor Atira. Huang Kui.
From drama, So Chui Yun. And Vaishnavi. From Chinese dance, Craig Shui. Yao Ming Chun. Jasmine Hay. Joy Goh. And Sherilyn Tan. From Malay dance, Noor Arini. Siti Noor Hamida. And Sharul. From Indian dance, Sabashina. Purnatini. Shamira. And Veduma. From Infocom Club, Pocholo Bautista. From Library, Hoi Wei Wen. From ABA, Solina Teo. And Vanessa Lee. From 5A1 Class Committee, Prashant. From 5A2 Class Committee, Michelle Bay.
Thank you, Mr. Tan. On behalf of the school, Sharna will now present an art piece as a token of appreciation to Mr. Tan. Thank you, Mr. Tan, for gracing this event and sharing with us your experience and insights on leadership.
The student councillors devote much of their time supporting school events and improving the experience for the students. To show our appreciation for the good work done by the student council, our principal, Mrs. Lee, will present certificates of to the outgoing student councillors. Mrs. Lin, please.
Just spend just see what you can do then you want. Do whatever you want.
Sabashina, President. Han Boyang, Vice President, School Matters. Craig Shirley, Vice President, Student Matters. Lee Chengman, Treasurer. Gerald Singh, Secretary. Sharifa Amira, Director of Discipline. Kanji Ho Brennan, Director of Student Affairs. Liu Yishen, Director of Cultural Affairs. Sun Ching, Director of School Affairs. Colleen Ken, Director of Communications. Senior Councillors, Cindy Chai. Albert Nathaniel. Jason Ho. Khairunisa Rahim. Lukman. Jalika Grace. Shareen Singh. Siti Nong Farah. Renuha. Jamie Singh. And Tan Guan Yao.
Apart from recognizing the outgoing student councillors, we would like to usher in a new group of student councillors who will continue the good work done by their seniors. 2E1 Lin Jiajia. And Zheng Zhongyi. 2E3 Justin Xiao. 2E4 Han Zhihui. 1E1 Serene Leong. No Alisa. Rama. And Radha. 182 Emily Chi. Fiji Liu. Phoebe Teo. Raisha Kashima. Kylie Ting. And Chan Shan Chan. Wani Karong Jessie. No Kalisa. And Siti No Kalisa. Cheryl Gold, and Ling Ling Xiang. From 181 Ingurani, Kurtika. Lin 13, and Yasoda.
Mrs. Lim will present these badges to the new councillors and executive committee members. Sharanya, President. Crystal Low, Vice President. Lokesh, Vice President. Lim Yong Fen, Treasurer and Secretary. Sherilyn Fu, Director of Discipline. Tohira, Director of Student Affairs. Viva Payne, Director of Council Affairs. Guan Xiaohan, Director of School Affairs. Parisha, Director of Communications. Priyati Deva, Assistant Director of Discipline. Vaishali, Assistant Director of Student Affairs. Maxine Angela, Assistant Director of Council Affairs. Shawiza, Assistant Director of School Affairs. And Ko Wong Kiat, Assistant Director of Communications. Thank you, Mrs. Lim.
This year's election was an exciting one. The Student Council President nominees took to the stage to share with the school about what they would like to do. And then they gathered votes from both the teachers and students. Let us now put our hands together as we invite the new President of the Student Council, Sharanya, to present to us her speech. Sharanya, please. It turns out that their obstacle was that this member had to pretend to be a casualty and had to be carried to the finishing line. And as they reached the finishing line, the crowd burst into a roar of applause. And somehow this scene has been etched deeply in my mind since then. For one thing, it showed that winning is not everything. Ever watched an amazing Olympic race? Notice how some people hardly pay attention to the winners, but we often take note of the stories behind people who bounce back from having suffered an injury. And also being a leader is about walking alongside people to help them overcome their limits. And finally, what I want to do as a leader is to be with my team instead of commanding like what a boss does. There are leaders and then there are bosses. With these things that I have learned, I hope that the students sitting in the audience can try and inspire others. As the Student Council President, I would like to put those things that I have learned into action. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sharanya. The student leaders have an important task to fulfill. They are both role models for their peers and are representatives of the Yochukang values. The position they now hold carries great responsibility and will demand both commitment and hard work. We have no doubt that they will be able to make us proud. The oath of service that the student leaders will now take is a mark of their commitment to always do their best. Student Council President Sharanya will lead the student leaders oath.
Student leaders, please rise. Please raise your right hand. We, the student leaders of Yochukang Secondary School, do solemnly swear that we will faithfully do our best to uphold our diligent duties to serve our school and community with pride and integrity. Hands down. Student leaders, please sit. Thank you, student leaders. This evening, we invest in a new team of student leaders to take our school to new heights. It has been our great pleasure to share this proud moment with all of you. Once again, we would like to thank our guest of honor, Mr. Martin Tan, for honoring us with your presence. We would also like to express our deep appreciation to all distinguished guests for joining us tonight.
Yochukang Secondary School wishes all of you a very pleasant evening. There is a dinner reception provided for all just outside the theater. Continue to share your ideas and insights on leadership. Kindly remain seated while the guest of honor takes his leave. Thank you, parents and invited guests, for sharing this evening with us. Please enjoy the dinner. Good night.